Hey guys, I know it's been a while. We had some big news pop up recently in the last couple days that I wanted to at least address or talk about. I didn't really think it was going to be that big of a deal, but it sort of was made out to be a bigger one than it was, and that's kind of the gist of it. So this news bit that you're going to see, it wasn't it wasn't even a blip on the radar until 2 days ago, and then kind of blew up today when a bunch of YouTubers finally saw this probably and just kind of hopped on the bandwagon, if you will. So I wanted to set the record straight at least a little bit, give some context to this, as well as give the resolution of it, which we haven't gotten, and really just try to set the record straight and plead with a lot of these folks. I don't want to discredit these guys as professionals. I don't want to discredit them as individuals. They're passionate people, but the record just needs to be set straight on this, and I feel like this is the only way I can really do it. So I hope you guys can bear with me. Let's check it out. Okay. So Austin Oganowski posted a video 2 days ago with the title "Motorsport Games Sued by Investors, Stock Price Drops $4." Okay. So that was the big story. So any reasonable person reading that headline is going to think, they got sued. That's why the stock really dropped, okay? So, again, context is key here. So, IPO opened in late January of 2021. Stock opened up at $30. Kind of slowly dwindled down till about September, October. Nosedive, okay? It was kind of hanging around like the 20s, maybe upper teens, and then it's really dropped, and that's where it's gotten down to the single-digit dollar amounts, okay? So that's the context here. So where does this video come from and what's used? All right, so Austin, I don't want to even say uses the article as source material. He just briefly mentions it in passing. At the end of the video, he talks about the share price at the beginning, but at the end of the video, he mentions this lawsuit. So this lawsuit comes from an article of Bloomberg that he, briefly mentions in passing. That is, Motorsport Games was getting sued by a group of investors for improper purchase of shares. So again, context here, what happened? So we have 704, which is still a separate asset and entity of Motorsport Games that they owned about 51% of at the time in January. Okay, so as the IPO was coming up, they were obviously trying to get some capital, and so they had remaining shares that hadn't been, that had been sold but hadn't been purchased by anybody. Well, the story goes that they purchased them at a discounted rate, but that's not really the correct thing to do procedural-wise, because if you're the owner of the company itself, or majority stake owner, you can't give yourself first dibs. That's the crux of this issue. So the company Ascend, which was also a minority shareholder of 704 Games, filed a lawsuit in January, for this improper procedure. Okay, and so that's kind of where that article leaves off. That's all we know. So the big question I have is for everybody, what happened? Everybody started tweeting today, this is shady, it was thrown under the rug, nobody talked about it. They went all the way back to January to find this Bloomberg article to quote it and tweet it. Well, guys, if you're not looking for the answers, you're never going to find them. You got to look for them. You can't just expect one YouTuber guy to give you the answers if he's trying to push a narrative. So here's what actually happened. Let's maybe talk about it for a second. If you just type in Motorsport Games Ascend, because that's the company that was, taking them to court, we'll figure out what happened. So we're going to go to Jayski. The same article is word for word published in about 5 or 6 other places. It's really an easy article to get to. So let me try to make it easier so you see less of my big fat head and we can just look at the article, okay? So you can read the whole article. I'm not going to insult you guys. The biggest thing I wanted to point out is the end, okay? So here we go. So in addition, pursuant to the agreement with Ascend, the 704 Games derivative legal action commenced in Florida by Ascend against Motorsport Games will be dismissed with prejudice upon the closing of the transaction with Ascend. So again, what did this article state? This article stated that Ascend and PlayFast agreed to sell their remaining shares of 704 to Motorsport Games to give them full 100% control. Okay, this was back in March. So we knew this back in March because a lot of us shared this article back in March. Nobody really looked at this passage in passing because It wasn't a big deal. I was a shareholder and I knew about this lawsuit. It didn't matter to me then. It doesn't matter to me now. It didn't matter until everybody wanted to make it a bigger deal than it really was. So again, context is key. And now we see, oh, there was a resolution to this. So what does dismissed with prejudice mean? Because I know probably not everybody knows what that means. Dismissed with prejudice in this instance means that when this case is dismissed and finalized by the transaction being completed, it cannot come back in a court of law in any fashion, in any sense. Okay? So why is that a big deal? Well, in courts you have like double jeopardy and stuff, but this is different when it comes to lawsuits, liabilities, and things like that. So that's why dismissed with prejudice is the terminology here, is because it cannot come back in any facet in a court of law against motorsport games. They don't admit fault, they don't admit liability, guilt, anything. It's like it never happened, which is basically what happened. It never happened. So, we get some articles about it, and then 9 months later we want to dig it up from the grave and post about it and say this company's shady. That's what's frustrating, guys. I understand. Austin, I understand. Darian, IDK, I understand you guys are so frustrated with how this game has come out. I understand that. I am frustrated with it too. I do not, and I'm not particularly fond of the current state of NASCAR 21 Ignition. I don't think anybody has ever doubted me in saying that. Was I very big on it when it was first coming out? Yes, I was hopeful, and then I was slowly learning things and communicating those things, and, it is what it is. But I just want to set the record straight that, a lot of guys get frustrated because I'm not out there tweeting every day how this game sucks or the developers suck and, if they're not going to get good, they should get out. No, I'm not going to do that because, one, that's not how you do things in a professional environment, and two, that's just not how I am as a person. I manage people in real life. I am a manager. I have to be able to give constructive feedback and actually be a nice person to people, even if they're not doing as good a job as I know they can. It's all about having that open line of dialogue and being able to be communicative with people you have disagreements with. And that's where we missed the mark with these three gentlemen. And again, they're great guys. They're passionate individuals. Darian and I we're good friends, I felt like. We had an open communication when all the NASCAR heat stuff was going down, but Darian really took it to heart, and I understand it. You think I'm a yes man, you think blah, 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 whatever. But at the end of the day, we want the same goals, but the way we want to go about it is just entirely too different. And I'm not going to go around and say and have polls, is the NASCAR console community dead, or call this thing a dumpster fire, because what does that help? What purpose does that serve? How much better does it make things? At the end of the day, these are human beings that are developing this game. They are a new company. This is not a Madden deal. Let's really set the record straight there. This is not one developer developing this game for decades and all of a sudden, taking away features and lessening the gaming experience. This is a new developer that just came in, has made all these acquisitions, with all these new studios, had to make a game to adhere to the NASCAR contractual agreement of releasing a game every single year, and was put under the pressure and put under the gun. Okay? I mean, it is what it is. Let's just call a cat, call a spade. That's how and what happened here. Does it make it right? No, it doesn't. But you know what? Me yelling and screaming about it, and you yelling and screaming about it and being derogatory doesn't make it any better for anyone. There are people who enjoy the game, and that's great. I'm very happy for you. Right when the game came out, I said it is tiered for this certain audience right now. If you are a hardcore online gamer, you're probably not going to enjoy it as much as you should. I didn't advocate for people to buy it, and I didn't advocate for people not to buy it. I want you to make your own opinion and decision. That's not mine to make for you. So, again, just in summary for everything, please, for the goodness gracious of all that is around in this world, do a little bit of your own research when you can, when it's providable, but also please add context to this. Like, I understand Austin's point, but you made a crisis out of something that was not a big deal in the slightest, and now we're at this point. So I hope this at least helps somebody understand the situation better and more wholly. You guys take care. Have a good one. All right.